Campbell.
And I'm Ron Jackson.
Cerebral conversations on disability liberation and integration. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cerebral Conversations, Episode 8. This is Cerebral Conversations, conversations on disability liberation and integration. I'm CJ Campbell.
And I'm Ron Jackson.
Ron, let's get cerebral.
Let's do this.
So, tell me about your week.
My week has been very liberating and integrating as I went to a restaurant this
That's
week.
right, you lead the charge.
Yes.
You went to a restaurant? What restaurant did you go to?
It's called Bamboo. It's an Asian tapas bar here in Illinois, here in our city of Rockford.
And did you eat some good food? What did you have?
Yes, I did. I had some peanut pad thai, some egg rolls, and some crab rangoon. And then we had the fried cheesecake.
Oh, buddy, why do you do that to yourself?
It's good business.
I'm pretty sure it is pretty good. So, anything other than that go on?
Just finishing decorating the apartment. My fish is a lot better now that he has clean water.
Yeah, you got a diva fish.
He's not so neurotic now.
So, you also did start a new class, right?
Yes.
What's that class on?
Personality theories.
One of my favorite parts of psychology.
Yes.
Also, I took the Myers-Briggs Personality Index with you, right?
Yeah, that was interesting.
And if I remember correctly, it was really funny to take the test with you because, for the most part, I knew exactly how you would answer. And you were an I, which means introverted. You were a S for sensing. And then you were a F for feeling. And you were a P for perceptions. So that pretty much sums you up. So you're an ISFP.
Yes, that actually does sum me up pretty well.
Yeah, well, it shows that you're kind of, you're introverted, you're quiet, you're subdued, and you are very conscientious. You don't necessarily feel the need to stick up for yourself, and you will make snap judgments at times. But also, once you, that means you're very loyal, because once you've made up your mind about something or someone, you're just like, all right, that's it.
Right. I kind of have severe tunnel vision when it comes to personal relationships and things I have to deal with in my daily life.
Yeah, I find that personality index is one of the most awesome psychology tools ever. I love doing it with people and figuring out their personalities and be like, oh yeah. Also, what's interesting is if you watch somebody take it and you can see how they perceive themselves rather than how you perceive them, because there's a few answers where I was like, I don't feel like you're like that.
Okay.
So that was cool. So you had a good week?
Yes, it was a good week.
Yeah, well, I've had a okay week. I had some good days and bad days. I haven't been sleeping that well, but I went to the mission, and I'm super humbled by all the awesome opportunity I get to help and work out at the mission, and a couple of the guys that I mentor, one of them is right about ready to graduate the program, so I was just feeling really great about that, and talking through their transition. They're starting community college soon, and they're just super excited, and they're working on getting their own apartment. So to go from a heroin addict to going to college in 9 months, that's amazing. However, we had one guy who was a month away from graduating relapse on alcohol and just plowed. And then he was I guess he was hanging around over the weekend, and on on like holiday weekends, because there's so much alcohol and just people around, they they make it where you're only allowed to be on the block that the rescue mission is on, and so like, but like they can still go to meetings and stuff, but some guys just can't handle it and they freak out, and that's what happened. So I was just feeling pretty down about that, but we did have an awesome. Was it Saturday? Yeah, it was Saturday.
Yep.
We had an awesome Saturday because we got some of those beefy crunch burritos from Taco Bell.
That we love to tout
Woo!
here on the show.
Get it without the meat. It's amazing.
I have to agree.
Yeah, and I got a 12-pack of Leinenkugel's Summer Shandy, half beer, half lemonade. It's delightful.
That wasn't exactly my favorite thing in the world, but to each their
No,
own.
but somebody decided to get a little happy with their Smirnoff shots.
Vodka is the way to go.
Ugh. I was getting a little worried.
Yeah, he was a little paranoid over here.
Well, you started to slur your speech, and I couldn't tell what was the booze and what was the palsy. Yeah, so that was cool, and we watched, was it UFC 168?
162.
162. And we watched Chris Weidman knock out Anderson the Spider Silva.
Which we were all happy about because, for those of you that don't know, Anderson Silva is very good, but very cocky. So,
Yep.
he deserved to get knocked out.
Yeah. I think I've already talked about it before, but I don't know why. Like, you know, I'm a pacifist. I'm totally against violence, but I love watching UFC. And I think I figured it out. I think it's like, I love the story that a fight makes. I'm not as interested in the actual fight. I'm more interested in the story surrounding the fight. So, and plus, you know, like the main event was a total underdog thing. It was like this up-and-comer who's like 9-0 versus a guy who hasn't been defeated in 17 fights. And he has gone undefeated for 7 years.
He got very lazy and got knocked out.
Yeah, so it was a good time. We had a good time with our homie Shane.
Sugar Shane.
What's up, Shane?
What's up?
So what are we talking about this week, my friend?
We are talking about disability in the workplace.
Woo! Hot button subject these days.
Push that button.
Now, there's been an interesting story that's come out of, there's a great piece, I think it was by ABC News. I'm trying to remember who Harry Smith works for.
ABC.
ABC. And it was kind of an expose on the practices of goodwill, because through a loophole in the the Fair Wage Act that happened in, was it 39?
I believe so, yeah.
Is that you don't have to pay disabled workers in certain circumstances minimum wage. So Goodwill, who employs a lot of people of varying disabilities in their warehouse, can pay some of their workers only 22 cents an hour. And a lot of it is based on a speed test, and that we posted the article on Cerebral Conversations, and then also I shared it through my personal Facebook page, and that got a lot of attention. There was a lot of good conversation around that, so we figured talking about disability in the workplace would be pretty relevant.
People were pretty angry when they saw that article.
Speak a little louder. So, Ron, why don't you talk to us a little bit about your work experiences?
Well, most of my work experiences come from my days in high school here in Rockford. I was placed in several different jobs through the help of a job placement program that is a division of the Department of Rehabilitative Services. I first began working in '94 at one of the local hospitals as a data entry person, and then I moved on to work for a local politician, helping him garner votes and things like that.
Okay, so what what kind of experiences did you have as far as your experience inside the workplace?
Inside the workplace, I didn't experience any negative feedback from coworkers. They were all very friendly. They asked questions about my disability. They wanted to know how they could make the job easier for me. And they all seemed to be genuinely glad that I was there.
Mm-hmm. Um, did you have any sort of negative experience, or was it all positive?
The only negative experience I had was when I left my final job. The person that was assisting me in getting those jobs flat out told me that the only reason I hadn't been fired was because they did not follow the time testing procedures that most jobs have to follow.
Yeah, that's a common thing within the workplace is that there's a lot of, and I don't know if it's necessarily so unfair because there's certain jobs that are, especially if you're paid by the hour, if you're not putting in an output, um, it doesn't make sense for them to hire you if you're not going to work as well. Um, but that's a common thing. In fact, Goodwill even has a time test every 6 months, and that's what decides your pay. However, in most cases, the time test decides if you work or not. I've actually had a lot of negative experience in my work history. I started off similar to you. I started off in not so much a job placement program, but there was a program through the special ed department in my school. Believe it or not, I was put in special ed for a lot of things that we'll probably get into in another episode. But there was this program that was grant funded that taught kids how to look for jobs and stuff like that, and then we would do just like random maintenance things or clerical work for the school during the summers. We would make a whopping $4 an hour, and then I would take that money and I would waste it all on N64 games, cigarettes, and coffee.
Wise decision to buy from
I stand by my purchases.
Fight the power.
And then I really didn't have like my first legitimate job until between the summer between my first and second year of pastoral school. Originally, I moved to Idaho to work as a copy editor for a Christian author, and then literally as I was boarding the plane, I got a phone call saying like I didn't have that job, and I spent the whole summer looking for a job. And eventually, I got a job as a security guard at a call center, and it was one of the most degrading jobs I ever had, because all I had to do was first I had to get up at 3:30 every morning and work until lunchtime, and I just had to make sure that everyone had a badge on and no one was carrying anything in or out. And that wasn't the degrading part. The degrading part is also I had to like flag down supervisors because the call center was split in between two rooms. And if somebody in the room I was sitting in needed help on a call or needed a supervisor call, I would have to flag them down. Well, they couldn't see me because I was seated, and I would have to like hold up this pom pom on a stick and like wave it around. First of all, that was kind of embarrassing, but whatever. But what was really bad is that the supervisors and the staff, the bosses of this call center would treat me like garbage, and so therefore the employees, when I had to enforce rules, wouldn't respect me either. So that was just a terrible summer. Plus, living in Idaho sucks. Never moved to Northern Idaho. I love my family in Northern Idaho, but it's terrible. Um, and then I didn't really have a job until I started working for a movie theater, and I had never dealt with such blatant discrimination on the workplace ever before. So my first day there, I'm all excited. I got to see a free movie before I came into work. I'm just ready just to work because I need money to continue on in pastoral school, and I was really excited about it. Well, so I show up, and then I talk to the head manager. I'm like, "Hi, my name's CJ Campbell. I'm starting today." And she's like, "You're CJ Campbell?" And I was like, "Yep." She's like, "Oh, well, that's just great." And so they kind of just get me to start working, and I'm like cleaning up the concession stands and whatever. And it's time for my break, and I go in there, and the manager that hired me, who was awesome, by the way, was getting berated by the head manager, the supervising manager, and was like, "How could you hire someone in a wheelchair? What is he going to do?" And so that's when I had to pull out my wallet, and because they didn't know I was in the room, but I said, "Excuse me," and I handed her the piece of paper. It had the ACLU's hotline on it. And I was like, "This is the number for the ACLU. If you fire me, there's going to be problems." And so I worked there for about a year or so, and I just got treated really badly all the time. They went against their corporate practices, where where no one is supposed to work one job primarily. As floor staff, you're supposed to work all different jobs. They always stuck me at ticket taker all day, every day, and when I got trained on the register, I had never worked a register. I was off by $1.50, which isn't even that's not even for a write up. And so I was off by that, and then one day I was off by 75 cents, and I only got to work it twice, and they never let me do that again. So I just always dealt with people's really bad attitudes. I dealt with a lot of just assuming that I wasn't valuable, and that really got me jaded for a while. So then eventually I got my job as an assistant pastor and a food pantry coordinator in upstate New York. And I would say that was my most positive job experience. I had a group of people who really believed in me for the most part. However, I still dealt with a lot of, not necessarily discrimination, but more of just ableistic mindsets. A lot of people telling me, "Well, I can't do things," or not having enough confidence in my competency as an adult. So I often got micromanaged a lot, and I dealt with a lot of just ableistic structures within my clients. People always tell me, this is why I literally had someone tell me, "This is why your kind of people can't work real jobs, because you can't do it."
Wow.
Yeah, and I haven't really had a job since. I do a lot of volunteer work. For the most part, with my volunteer work, I feel very much appreciated. I feel like I'm very good at what I do. And I'm working on my speaking and writing career, which I know that I'm competent at. I like to say that I'm the best speaker in the world. I just haven't proved it yet. Yeah, so that's kind of my job history. So why don't we move on a bit to Um, the problems with the Americans with Disability Act in terms of working if you have a disability. What's your thoughts on that, Ron?
Um, in general, I just feel like the legislation within the ADA is too broad and it doesn't define specifically what employers have to do to give people with disabilities employment or what qualifications a person with disabilities has to meet to deserve gainful employment.
Yeah, that's one of the major problems with any sort of legislation, even outside of disability rights and disability integration, is is that generally it can be very broad in terms of what the ADA actually states, which once again is the Americans with Disability Act. It says that an employer must make all reasonable accommodations. Well, that's a very broad, overarching, generalized statement, which can mean a lot of different things depending upon what job it is. And I know that that can be a little tricky to have specific language. However, it also really doesn't give a clear definition of what is discriminatory practices, because one of the things that's really hard is to prove that you were discriminated against. Like for instance, with my situation at the movie theater, it would be my word against the manager unless that other manager is like, yeah, she totally said that, which she would be risking herself anyways. And so one of the main issues that we have is that um, the vast majority of employers that I do meet, it's not so much that they don't want to hire somebody with a disability, it's that they don't want to deal with all the loopholes and hassle of having someone with a disability. It's something personal against the person with a disability, usually. Unless they're a complete a-hole.
Yeah. Usually it's just the government stipulations surrounding accessibility and things of that nature that cause employers to be like, no, we're not gonna mess with that.
Absolutely. For instance, you know that my two close friends, Chris and Ben, are looking to start their own coffee roasting business, and they had kind of joked around about me working for them, which I think would be dumb until they get more established. But then they learned about it, and they were like, "Yeah, so we've learned that it's so much hassle to hire somebody with a disability because." Basically, from our understanding, is that even if they're not good at what they do, we can't not hire them because they can't do a job.
Which I have to say I believe is unfair because if the person can't do the job they're hired for, they shouldn't be employed no matter what their physical circumstances are.
Yeah, I think that there's a difference between integration and forcing things. I think that if we want to be treated like everyone else, then we should be held by the same standards as everybody else. And I think that sometimes, in the interest of fairness, that line gets muddled where people who don't necessarily deserve opportunities get opportunities simply because of circumstance. And I don't know if that's so much healthy. I don't think that's healthy for the disabled community. I don't think that's healthy for our able-bodied brothers and sisters either.
I don't think it is either because it perpetuates and enforces the dichotomy that able bodied people are still over disabled people, and the only reason that they're giving disabled people jobs is because the law says that they have to.
I think it more sets up a structure of charity. I think you're right. I think it sets up like that we get to be a part of society because able-bodied people have allowed us to be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't think that's fair to either party. Um, and I think that we should probably talk about what are some ways that crippled brothers and sisters can make working in the workplace with able-bodied people a positive and enriching experience. Also, what are some things that able-bodied brothers and sisters can do to make accommodations to allow crippled brothers and sisters to work within their strengths and to be the best employee that they can be?
Okay. I think one of the things disabled brothers and sisters could do is to just be open about their needs and not try overly hard to be independent and ignore some of their challenges. I think that is one of the things that I struggle with, and probably you have as well, is that when we are given opportunities, we want so badly to succeed that often we forget that we do need certain things in order to succeed, and we don't ask for those things in a timely manner.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that a crippled brother or sister can do as they enter the workforce is be open and communicative about your needs and realize that able-bodied brothers and sisters, for the most part, for the most people I encounter, it's not that they want to be a jerk. It's not that they want to discriminate against you. It's this, they don't know how to break out of patterns. They also don't know what's proper most times. So one is don't be overly sensitive if they ask you what you think is a dumb question. Answer it, explain what your needs are, and if there are problems in the workplace, be like, just let them know, hey, if you're having a problem with how things are working out, just talk to me. Maybe we could work something out. Also, give them ideas on the best way to make your job experience the most efficient.
I would also encourage crippled brothers and sisters to try to do some pre-game research, as it were, and research the job before you actually try to apply, so that you kind of know what is expected. Because if you know what's expected, you can better explain to the people in power what you need or how they can accommodate you as an employee.
Absolutely. I think also another huge thing that crippled brothers and sisters can do is be the best worker you can be. One of the things that I really realized, and I didn't always do great at this, is because I'm going to deal with discrimination, and because I'm behind the eight ball in a lot of ways in the workplace, I don't have a lot of room to screw up. So that means, showing up on time every day, wearing the proper work attire, having a good attitude, being polite. You have to be an amazing worker to get a job in an ableist society. Don't give them any reason to discriminate against you. Be a awesome worker, and then if they fire you, then you know that you were discriminated against. But if you're showing up to work late every day, or consistently, if you're not having a good attitude, if you're not working harder than everyone else around you, because frankly that's what you have to do. Something that I've learned is that, okay, just to be at the same level as an able-bodied person, usually that means I have to work twice as hard as somebody else. That's just to be at the same level as everybody else. That means to be great at something, usually I have to work 3 times as hard.
Yeah. You definitely have to be motivated about the job when you decide that you want to work.
Now, what is some advice that we could give to able-bodied brothers and sisters, not only fellow employees, but employers, if they are thinking about hiring somebody with a disability?
One of the things I would suggest is, like your friends did, do as much research as you can about the legal aspects of hiring someone with a disability, not only for the employee, but for yourselves as well, because some crippled brothers and sisters are very spiteful and might try to seek action against you if they are fired for valid reasons. So just do your research and also try to talk to someone who may know a person with a disability to try to get a feel for what is appropriate as far as communication and what is not.
Absolutely. For the most part, my advice is the same to a crippled brother or sister seeking employment: is be honest and open about your concerns. Be honest and open about what you don't know, what you would like to know better. Don't be afraid to ask questions. For the most part, if you're hiring a capable worker who's a crippled brother and sister, they're not very sensitive about their disability and they don't mind questions. Also, a really good thing if you're a business owner starting out is maybe you could hire a crippled brother and sister to kind of consult you for a day, to go through your facilities, show you what is accessible, what is not, where some problems are. That's a really great idea. I think I did that for a museum once when I was, I don't know, 13 or so. They paid me like $40, and I just went through the museum. I was like, oh, this railing's a little low. Da 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 da. Another thing I can highly suggest is do some preemptive diversity training. Find a good diversity trainer and do some diversity training regarding disability. I think that's one of the most effective ways. And if we could plug a good friend of ours at the Elephant in the Room diversity training, our friend Rich Russo does some great work. So you can look them up on Facebook. It's the Elephant in the Room. And I think that's really about all the advice we have for you.
That's about all we have for today.
So, first of all, I would like to remind you that if you want to check out our video and enter into the Disabling Ableism 7-Day Challenge, nobody has done it yet as far as I know. Go ahead and check out that video. You probably are going to see it somewhere over in this region, over here, or over here. And be sure to check out our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Cerebral Conversations. Also, we're on the Twitter. We are on the Twitter at Cerebral Convos. So you can also email us your feedback and your stories. Like we said, we kind of need some more ideas and discussions and what to talk about, and we would love to hear some of your stories. You can email us at cerebralconversations@gmail.com. You can also check out my personal blog, The Running Search, at cjcampbell.tumblr.com. Where can they get a hold of you, Ron?
I'm on Facebook under Ron Jackson.
The Ron Jackson.
The Ron Jackson.
So what is our next topic for next week?
Our next topic is going to be integration in the schools as it relates to disability.
That's right. We're talking about schools. We're going way back. We're going old school. So with that, everybody, keep it cerebral.
Peace.